Slap on a jockstrap, baby, because it's time for sports. It's Super NES Works episode 24. We have two sports-themed games this week, both of which cover sports that have already appeared on Super NES. The first of these, T&E Soft's True Golf Classics Waialae Country Club, is by far the better of this pair. It offers a deeper, richer simulation of the sport than even HAL's Hole-in-One Golf. Hole-in-One Golf, as you'll recall, licensed the image of superstar Japanese golfer Jumbo Ozaki for its Japanese release. That didn't come across into the US version, though, so we just received a solid 16-bit golf game of no particular note. For this first release in its True Golf Classics line, though, T&E Soft also took the license approach. Instead of paying players for their likeness, T&E instead paid to simulate a world-class golf course, the Waialae Country Club course in Honolulu, Hawaii. Waialae Country Club is popular for the obvious reasons. It's a dang golf club in Hawaii, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And it's also been the home of the Sony Open in Hawaii tournament for more than 50 years. So to be able to play a console golf game faithfully designed in the likeness of a world-class course that most people will never have the opportunity to experience in person themselves has a strong and undeniable core appeal. T&E Soft was not necessarily a company renowned for its sports games, but it was no stranger to golf. The company had made its mark with PC-based action RPG franchise HARUKANARU, which did a lot better in Japan than in the West due to its release timing in those territories, but it continued to dabble in more traditional games too. In fact, True Golf Classics was the third golf title the company released in 1991 alone, the others being new 3D golf simulation HARUKANARU AUGUSTA and 8 Lakes GC. What these games all have in common, besides golf, is that they reflect T&E's true strength: PC game development. The True Golf Classics series only ever made its way to the US on consoles, but this Super NES version is effectively a port of a PC game that debuted several months earlier in Japan on the PC 9801 platform. You can tell, too. True Golf Waialae feels like a PC game, with a sort of stilted attempt at immersion that will remind you immediately of another PC to Super NES port, Draken. This is not the most elegant game you'll see on Super NES, but what True Golf Waialae lacks in fluid grace, it more than makes up for with depth. Each and every one of the 18 holes that comprise the real Waialae Country Club course has been modeled here with what I assume is immense fidelity. Not only does True Golf Waialae recreate the overall layout of the courses and the length and the distances involved in each hole, it does so from multiple elevations and angles. The graphics are a little slow to redraw here whenever you tweak your aim or adjust the height of your point of view, again tipping off its PC origins, but every hole is structured to be a detailed simulation of the live course, all the way down to the placement and heights of the trees. I don't know how accurate it truly is, but certainly this course has a ton of personality. The game becomes especially granular when you make the final approach to a given hole. Once you step into putting range, you get to view a wireframe overlay of the green followed by a vertical slice that provides a very detailed breakdown of the slope of the grass surrounding the cup. It's certainly more detailed and informative than any other golf game we've looked at on VideoWorks to date, and it makes True Golf Waialae feel like a proper simulation. In terms of mechanics, of course, it's all pretty much par for the course, as the kids say. You begin with an overview of the course, a ground level view, and an indicator to denote wind direction and speed. Once you choose the angle you want to slice at, you select a club, alter your stance if you prefer, and swing. The swing meter here appears as a semicircle, but it's effectively the same thing you've seen in other golf titles, with power determined by how far along the meter you execute your swing. True Golf Waialae does introduce a new element we haven't seen in previous golf sims: putting English on the ball. Once you determine the power of your swing, you also have to choose where on the ball you'll make contact. This plays out as a sort of minigame where a red dot scans the surface of the ball and you have to time your button press to land your contact point. A perfectly centered hit gives the greatest and truest distance, of course, but there are cases where you'll want to alter your angle to, say, prevent the ball from gaining too much altitude, or to cause it to spin against the wind. It's all fairly complex, but even as a newcomer, I found it pretty intuitive. I have no doubt that with practice, the amount of control True Golf Waialae offers would offer a golf enthusiast to master the course. There's a tournament mode, complete with your choice of caddy, to encourage you as you play, too. So, all in all, it's a deep and impressive game. Admittedly, there is only the one course here, but that's typically been the case for every golf game of this era, and this is a real course. It's also modeled in extraordinary detail, a far cry from the breezy simplicity of Nintendo's golf, or even Hole-in-One. True Golf Waialae evidently did pretty well for TNE because the True Golf Classics line would grow to encompass several other real-world locations through sequels. The company would also revisit Waialae Country Club in a proper, immersive 3D form a generation later with the very successful Nintendo 64 redux of this game, taking a mulligan on it, as it were. This is the first Super NES sports title we've seen that really speaks to the potential of 16-bit hardware. Even if this conversion chugs to replicate what I assume are the detailed viewpoints of the PC original, which admittedly is a guess on my part since no footage of the PC 9801 version appears to exist online, there is a lot of depth and control here. At the other end of the spectrum, we have Culture Brain's Super Baseball Simulator 1000. Now, given the title, you may think this is some sort of meticulous recreation of America's so-called favorite sport, but that couldn't be further from the truth. On the contrary, Super Baseball Simulator 1000 gives us the zippiest baseball experience we've seen on VideoWorks. And brother, have we seen a lot of baseball experiences. Sadly, speed is about the only thing of note Super Baseball Simulator 1000 has going for it. Besides its arcade-like feel, this is as rote as you get. The mechanics here are identical to the ones we saw way back in Nintendo's Baseball for NES, a game from 1983. The baseball game genre has gotten prettier and faster over the 8 years since baseball hit Famicom in Japan, but if Baseball Simulator 1000 is anything to go by, it's still basically just the same game. You alternate between pitching and batting, and while batting, you have the usual options. You can scoot around in the batter's box to increase your chances of nailing a specific kind of hit, but otherwise you're basically just hitting A when the ball crosses the plate, or else refraining from taking a swing when the pitcher doesn't quite deliver over the plate. Likewise, pitching is the same affair as usual too. You attempt to strike out the batter by throwing a variety of different pitches, altering the speed and curvature of the ball with the D-pad. Pitchers grow tired after a few innings, making their throws easier to connect with. And as usual, fielding is complete garbage that reflects the standard disparity between human and CPU players. There's never any visual indication where a pop fly will land, and often they fly entirely off the screen, making them impossible to track. So fielding involves a lot of guesswork with your sluggish little players. The computer, of course, has no such trouble, uncannily and immediately placing its fielders exactly where the ball is going to land every single time. I'd say this is fine because all games like this are about the multiplayer competition, but as with its NES predecessor, Baseball Simulator 1000, this game features a season-long pennant race mode that can span dozens of games, so playing against the computer is taken as a bit of a given. Super Baseball Simulator 1000 does offer some decent options for play. You can choose one of 18 teams from 3 different leagues, set the duration of a game from 1 to 9 innings, and play in any of more than half a dozen stadiums that each has its own musical theme. Besides player versus player and player versus computer play, you can also set up a computer versus computer match that highlights the savage AI. Because the computer plays perfectly, these games tend to run many innings over the preset playtime as neither side can get a leg up on the other. There's also a third option here that allows you to coach, if you want to split the difference between active and passive play. Really though, the only saving grace for Super Baseball Simulator 1000 is its third league, the Ultra League. Ultra League turns the simulator part of Super Baseball Simulator 1000 to a lie altogether. Instead, it favors superpowered insanity that grants your teammates impossible powers. At the beginning of an Ultra League match, you can assign your team a set number of Ultra points that they can spend on high-powered super plays, both offensive and defensive. These range from impossibly fast pitches to pop flies that knock the fielder unconscious. Each of these moves cost a set amount of Ultra points. So depending on the setting, you have to use each of them tactically and gamble that you'll actually be able to make use of the power you've spent Ultra points on for that turn. Of course, you can just set the game to unlimited Ultra points and go hog wild, which is easily the most entertaining way to play Super Baseball Simulator 1000. Aside from that novelty though, Super Baseball Simulator 1000 does almost nothing to distinguish itself from Super Bases Loaded, which we've already seen. Oh, and the infinite array of other baseball titles to come in the future. Next time, it is the 90s, but there is no time for clacks because we're too busy with extreme sports.